All right, let's bring in the managing partner at Siri and Glimstad LLP. His focus is on civil rights. Think about that, civil rights related to health policy. His cases have involved challenges to medical mandates, the restoration of exemptions for U.S. military members, preventing the discharge of over 10,000 military personnel for refusing the COVID-19 vaccine, and has deposed and cross-examined the world's leading vaccinologists. His podcast is Informed with Aaron Siri, and he's the author of Vaccines, Amen, The Religion of Vaccines. Happy to have Aaron Siri with us. We'll get to some of the policy going on in D.C. right now, but just tell us exactly who you guys represent.
Well, my firm's got over 100 folks. We represent a lot of folks. On one side of the firm, the non-vaccine related stuff that we do, we represent individuals universally pretty much for data breach cases, genetic privacy cases, biometric cases, you name it, all types of consumer claims. And the legacy media loves that work. No issues with that. And then there's another part of my firm that does vaccine related work. And in that area, we represent every stripe of vaccine related issue. Folks who are injured by vaccines. Though we don't sue the pharma company, you can't, they have immunity. We sue the federal health authorities that tell you it's safe. We represent folks who need exemptions from vaccines, whether it's immigration, school, work. We represent folks who've been fired improperly from their jobs because of vaccines, including in the private as well in the public sector, like in the military. So that gives you a roundabout of who we represent.
The reason why I was getting at that is because I know a lot of people were fired. A lot of first responders were fired for not taking the vaccine. I would say you have a plethora of potential clients going, but tell us a little bit about what you're finding. Is there immunity? Was there immunity given? No pun intended here, to the pharma companies and I guess the policymakers that were forcing people to either get the vaccine or walk out?
Yeah, well, the only real absolute immunity that exists when it comes to vaccines is the immunity the pharma companies have to injure and kill with effective impunity on the basis that they don't need to make their products safer. So leading up to 1986, there were only 3 routine vaccines. That's it, okay? A child following the CDC schedule in 1986 got 3 injections on or before their first birthday. Those 3 products were causing so much harm and injury that every manufacturer stopped making them except for one. Now, many industries face this crossroad where their products are causing an incredible amount of harm. Building products used to harm people with asbestos, so they cause cancer. Cars used to blow up because of gas tank issues. What you do in those crossroads is you don't, say, okay, you can keep selling your products that cause harm. You make them better. You make them safer because they're held accountable for it. But in this one instance with vaccines, and it's the only exception, Congress instead gave the pharma companies immunity for the injuries that they cause by passing something called the National Childhood Injury Act of 1986. And what that did is it made vaccines literally the only product in America that you cannot sue a company to claim, had you made that product safer, my kid or I would not have been injured, would not have been immune disorder, neurological disorder, you name it, or wouldn't have been killed.
Incredible.
It is the only product in that category.
Incredible. And there were different rules with COVID because they were in a rush to save some lives, but they took probably the similar shortcuts or even worse shortcuts, and we're probably going to, the people who took the vaccine will probably start feeling the effects of that down the road. RFK, you must be buddies with RFK Jr. I mean, he's speaking the language that you guys are actually trying to, litigate, right?
For Covaxin, by the way, yes, there's something called PrEP Act immunity, which is another layer of protection. But Secretary Kennedy, yeah, I mean, when he was, I've known him for a decade. When he was running for president, I was general counsel to the campaign. And, when we've litigated a number of vaccine cases together or in parallel over the years. So yes, no.
Now he has said, was it the polio vaccine he believes gave him the voice issue, the problem? And I believe you're involved in maybe claiming that it's not generally the polio vaccine is either harmful or useless?
That's the New York Times. So he was talking about the flu shot. Now, okay. What you're talking about is a headline that was run by the New York Times that was totally false. It was run when Bobby was trying to get confirmed as Secretary of HHS to claim that, to make it appear as if he was trying to eliminate the polio vaccine. What they did is they took a petition that my firm filed on behalf of another client, not Secretary Kennedy, had nothing to do with them. In fact, RFK knew nothing about it, okay? And what that petition said to the FDA is it said, look, you licensed a new polio vaccine in the year 1990, okay? So we're not talking about the Salk or the Sabin polio vaccine. This is a totally new polio vaccine licensed in 1990 using a brand new technology, these things called vero cells. These are basically monkey kidney cells that are rendered immortal and basically cancerous. They replicate forever. They then grow the polio virus in that, and then these cancerous, effectively monkey kidney cells end up in the vial of every single dose that gets injected into a child. For that vaccine, and only that polio vaccine, not the 5 others that exist, there was a petition filed to say to the FDA, hey, look, you licensed this novel polio vaccine on a clinical trial. This may sound incredible, it's on the FDA website. A clinical trial that reviewed safety for 3 days after injection. 3 days. No control group, and not enough kids in it. You did not validate that this entirely novel product was safe before you went and unleashed it onto America's children. And so the petition asked that until the sponsor, the company that's making billions selling it, submits proper clinical trial data, you pause that distribution of that product, and only for children. To be clear, that would not have left, even if the FDA granted that petition, it would not have left a single child in America without access to polio vaccine, because there were 5 others licensed for children. And that petition only related to its use for children for that one product.
Let me do this. Let me jump in here because we don't have a lot of time. Number one, I want to ask you: Have you ever spent any time with Fauci and found out what the hell was going on in his mind? Number one, but let me just read off some of the vaccines that people are injecting this country with, and you tell me if any of these are really effective, or if we'd be healthier if we didn't do it. Chickenpox, COVID-19, dengue, diphtheria, flu, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, HIV, HPV, measles, meningitis, meningococcal, monkeypox, mumps, pneumonia, polio, RSV, rubella, shingles, tetanus, whooping cough. Tetanus, are any of these effective?
What you're pointing out, and I'll answer your question, is that we have gone from 3 injections on or before the first year of life to 1986, following the CDC schedule, to 29 injections on or before the first year of life as of the beginning of 2025. We're now down to 19 with the recent changes. And I think what you're saying is, like, does a kid need all these shots? Does God mess up so bad that a child can't exist in America without all these vaccines? Was the year 1986, was the sky falling without all of these shots? And the answer is no. In terms of their efficacy, they each have different efficacy, and they each have a different safety profile. I go through that in my book for almost all of them. One thing I can tell you is that if you look carefully at the data, what you find is that the safety has not been validated for any of these products. Right. The data that does exist for all of them shows serious safety issues.
At least tetanus? Can we give tetanus a break or no? Not even tetanus.
When it comes to the tetanus, I mean, again, you'd want to look, what was the mortality from tetanus pre-vaccine, right?
Yeah.
And what you find is extremely low. Now you're going and giving this to a few hundred folks. Now you're going and give this ubiquitously, and at a time, by the way, where you're more likely to be exposed to tetanus.
Aaron, it strikes me, sorry, and I could be completely wrong, it strikes me that all these vaccines are a massive money-making machine for big pharma, and government just plays along because who donates to the biggest political campaigns in the world? Big pharma. Aaron, I got to go. Aaron Siri, thank you very much for your time. Really, really interesting stuff. All about the health, too. I love this topic. Thank you, sir. All right, folks, take a look at this. All right, folks, so 6 months in, we're almost 3 million views. We got almost 90,000 watch hours. We're going to get to 15,000 subscribers. We're almost there. I need you to help me out. I'll tell you what, when we hit 15,000, should be very soon, we'll take the last 5 people who leave comments in the comments section, and we're going to send you one of these cool Edge t-shirts right there. Again, leave a comment in the comments section, be one of the last 5 that once we hit 15,000, and you're going to get a t-shirt. Also, you got to be a subscriber, so do it now.